Hi, I'm Stephanie,
And I'm Justy,
and together we're losing it. We've each lost over 100 pounds with the help of diet, exercise, and breaking bad habits. And I also had weight loss surgery in 2020.
And I recently had skin removal surgery.
We're just sharing our journey and what we've learned throughout the process.
And we're not doctors, so if you have any medical questions, reach out to your doctor.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for another episode, and again, we have Mr. Sancho with us. But we also have a guest on today, and I'm going to let our guest kind of introduce himself. We brought on a doctor, a friend of Justy's, Dr. Bruce, and we are going to let you, Bruce, thank you first for joining us, because, Justy and I could preach all day long what we know and what we've learned, but like we're gonna get a little push, a little nudge, friendly nudge from a doctor on why some of the stuff that we talk about is really important. We're not just making it up.
Right.
So Bruce, if you don't mind, just introduce yourself, maybe a little bit about your background, what I guess type of doctor you are. Does that sound right? Is that what type of doctor, what field? I don't know. I don't know you, so I don't know anything about it. So just give us a little background about yourself, and I'll let Justy then take it away with a couple of just kind of questions
Our
and
topics.
things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm honored to be with you guys for this podcast. I One of my passions has been medical supervised weight loss, and just to give you an idea of what I've been doing for the last 30 years, I've been in private practice. I'm a family physician by training, and I've been monitoring patients for weight loss for a very long time, and in a private practice model, so different from other practices.
And when you, I kind of wanted to get a little bit of a kind of background. So you said you've been doing this for 30 years. And I just want to quickly, maybe you can answer how you've seen obesity change over the last 3 years, and kind of talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Sure. Well, the the media has really embraced this tremendously. The many drugs that have been introduced into the marketplace, the GLP-1s and the GLP-1 GIP combinations such as Mounjaro is making big strides. And it's very important to consider physician involvement in supervised weight loss, because patients tend to do much better under physicians' care. First of all, we do medical assessments by performing comprehensive medical assessment to identify any medical conditions they may have, and developing a weight loss plan, also to monitor and support patients, and also the medical management. Physicians may prescribe medications to assist patients with weight loss.
And I think that's really important because in the past, I mean, I obviously have gone to the doctor every year. Well, I skipped a few years, but
We have always loved
right.
that for sure.
I would go to the doctor and they would just tell me, oh, yeah, you're overweight, but never gave me any sort of help. And I don't know if it's because I didn't ask for help, but it seems to me that there's a lot more physicians are being taught more about what weight loss and how they can help, because it is such a crisis in the United States.
There are still plenty out there though that don't get it, because I hear people, very heavily involved in the weight loss surgery community, and there's plenty of people who their doctor wouldn't approve them for weight loss surgery. It's like, well, you have to advocate for yourself and go find another doctor, because they're not all on board, and that's a shame. But my sister and I joke, from when we the doctor we went to as a pediatrician, you'd go in because like we played sports. We played all the sports, field hockey, softball, you name it. You go in because your knee hurts, and they're like, well, you need to lose weight. And I'm like, why do you think I'm playing field hockey? Like, it's not, it can't just all be you need to lose weight. Like, I mean, there's more to it than every ailment. I have a cough. You mean, if you lost weight, it's like that. Not everything I come in here for is about losing weight. And I get it, it's important, but if it was that easy, I would have done it already.
And what have you done? So have you had like extra training? Is there like extended training, I guess, than, you know, when you went to medical school, like certifications, updates, that sort of thing that you're about doing?
Not necessarily, and I think you bring up a good point. Being overweight has been stigmatized by physicians for many years. And what I've done is embrace the condition and actually identified it as an illness, just like asthma, just like hypertension and diabetes. That's the difference.
And you know, maybe it's because I'm a little bit hormonal today, but that almost like brings tears to my eyes, because it's the first time I've ever heard a doctor say that they embrace the fact that this is an illness. And instead of just making you feel like, I can't really help you, you got to help yourself. And I think
exercise and calorie deficit, exercise, eat right. Like we know, and we've known for, gosh, my mom did the low fat diet. We did everything. We've known for years.
Weight loss
We've known for years that, you know, I get it, the calorie deficit, but it's like getting to that. That's the hard part. And it's you know, food for me, I'm a chef. So like I became a chef because I like food so much. And so it's an addiction for me. And I just had to teach myself to eat differently. And I had weight loss surgery to help me to be able to not, I make really good food. So to not overeat it. And so, you know, it's just like, there's so many different ways of reasons and ways of going about it, that it's not just as simple as diet and exercise and call it a day. You can't write a script for diet and exercise. It's just, and it's frustrating that some doctors still see it that way. But like you said, it is way more widely accepted now as a chronic disease.
And physicians need to empower patients who have or overweight. It's not, you know, it should never be stigmatized, so that when you leave the physician's office, you need to feel good about it rather than be frustrated. That you know, most physicians just say, you know, you're overweight, you need to lose weight. Well, there's more to it.
Right. And I guess this is probably going way off from what we've been rolling. I know for a fact that my weight loss success of, you know, losing over 100 pounds had all to do with my thoughts. Right. And so from, you know, in the medical area, is there any sort of help for people who are morbidly obese with their brain work? Or is that a field or something that's lacking?
Well, obesity by itself leads to mental health disorders because it's frustrating. It's a vicious cycle of you know, depression, and then the reward of food to alleviate those mood disorders.
Right. So, and I think both of us identified, for me, you know, when I was younger, a young girl, I was lonely all the time, which I guess is a theme in my life. But I was lonely all the time, and, you know, I found comfort in food. And then when I went through an abusive marriage, and I had 2 kids very young, and I coped with it with food. And so it's really all I knew. And it wasn't until I worked through those things in my head that was like, okay, well, this isn't going to make you feel better. It's going to actually make you feel worse. And but I find that I had to do that on my own, and I had to struggle. Steph, in order to get to that point where she was able to do that work, she had to have a tool of bariatric surgery. And can
I stop that for 1 second? Because Justin and I come from, we're like sisters from a different mister, but very different misters, because you know my family. I wasn't lonely. I was never lonely. That wasn't the case for me. I just loved food, and my family everybody loves to cook.
Like, your mom is the best cook.
Everybody just loves to cook, and that's what I grew up with, this love of food, which then I became a chef because of it. So it wasn't anything. I don't feel that I was like seeking some type of like,
Yeah.
it wasn't that for me. So it's like, while we were very different, we
Mhm.
still ended up down the same path of being, because we were about the same amount
Right.
of overweight. We
Yeah.
lost about the same amount of
Mhm.
weight. We just did it two very different ways.
Right.
But I just didn't have what you, the strength that you had to be able to like keep chipping away at it. Cause I would chip, and then bam, 40 pounds right back on.
Right. And Bruce, a lot of people don't have my strength, right? Let's just call it what it is. I'm like the 1% over here.
Yeah.
So what is it for you as a doctor who's very passionate about this? What do you suggest? Where do you suggest people start? Like, what's the, yeah, where could they just start to make healthier lifestyle choices? Maybe not lose 100 pounds, but just where do you tell them to start?
Well, the first thing I talk about is nutrition rather than telling them they eat too much. And, I think, there's a cultural component and it's learned behavior.
Mhm.
Parents may tell them that they have to clear their plate. Portion size is usually too much. And by and large, there's a physiologic effect where your stomach expands. So you're overeating and you have to fill it. And then you get that feedback to the hunger center in the brain, which says, okay, my stomach's partially empty, so you want to eat again. And so it's a vicious cycle. So I start at the basics, and also to tell patients that they really need to feel good about themselves, and they need to do this for themselves, not for others.
Yeah. I always relate that to, they're completely different but very similar, because it's a codependency, but alcoholics. I was married to an alcoholic, and he, no matter how much I wanted him to go into rehab, no matter how much the kids wanted him to, no matter how much he said he wanted to, until you really truly want it, you're never going to be able to like fully submerge yourself and go through the process that you need to go through. And that was the same for me. I wanted to lose weight. I tried all the things to lose weight, but I'll never forget that day when something in me was just like, I've had enough. And I really put my foot down and said, this is what I'm going to do. And so it was this, it's almost like you have to hit your rock bottom in order to be able to turn yourself around, just like an alcoholic would or a drug addict would. It's the same thing with your weight, where it's like you've had enough, has to be enough already to where you're serious about making changes, because you can't want it enough for me to do it.
Right. And a lot of people too, so you had said that they have to do it for themselves, but it's really hard when you have very little self-worth, right? And so
So
trying to build that up and giving them tools. And that's really what I'm passionate about, is that, okay, my doctor's telling me that I need to do this for myself, but I don't love myself, right? So how do we get people to make that first step and encourage them and get them momentum to keep going? Because that's, once I got momentum, I was pretty good, right? But it was taking that step of confidence and self-valuing myself. So I know that's more of a psychological type thing, but how do you help people with that sort of thing?
well, first of all, they have to feel important and they have to have accountability. So there's many different ways to motivate someone to take the initiative, such as telling them being overweight is not about just not fitting into your clothes. It's look towards the future. It's your health. We know that being overweight re, results in premature death usually. So
Right.
I try to give them a platform to think about. Number one, this is important for their health. Number two, for their happiness. Number three, for their children,
Right, their families, and that's why Steph is.
family and children. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what got me into it, because I had a new family. I was getting married and I have two stepkids, and my husband is very active, and we would go roller skating and I took pictures. We would go to an amusement park and I'd say, I don't really like roller coasters, you know, things like that, because I have been that girl that got on a roller coaster, it didn't fit, and I had to get off, and that's the most embarrassing.
Or the guy like trying to push the door,
and so and then you have to like get out, and
yeah.
everyone's like looking at you, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And so I've been there. So from that day on, it was just like, oh, I don't like roller coasters. I fucking love roller coasters. I want to go roller skating. Like, I want to do all the things, and I couldn't. And I hated watching them have so much fun. Granted, we have great memories. I took great pictures and videos, but I didn't want to be on that side of the camera anymore. And so it was just like, if I want to live a long, healthy life, to have these kids as part of my life, because they're my kids. They're not my kids, but they're my kids. So if I want to be here for them, if I want to see them graduate, if I want to live this long, healthy life, and my husband and I have really grown to love the mountains and hiking and camping, and I couldn't do all of that at 300 pounds backpack. We put backpacks on and go for the night. I couldn't have done that. 300 pounds, and you want me to put another how much on me? No. But now I can.
Our quality of life has changed a lot. And I think, so we were talking earlier about how, you know, we still have 3 months left in the year. And so we were talking about how important it is to kind of, instead of waiting for January 1st to magically get motivation, some 3 kind of easy things that we can do right now, this starting in, you know, October and starting today, that we can do to help us have a good foundation for that January motivation that is going to come. So one thing, and I'd like for you to talk to us a little bit about, was hydration and how important that is, and kind of all the different things that hydration affects in your body.
Well, water is very essential for life, for our existence, and it plays a vital role in nutrition, especially for weight management. We know that water makes up 60% of our body weight. That doesn't mean we're going to weigh more if we drink more, but we need it for digestion. For instance, water helps to break down food and absorb nutrients, so that's why you need it to move things along in your gut. Circulation, it transports oxygen and nutrients to the cells throughout our body, so we need water for that. The other components would be excretion. Water helps to flush out all those waste products from our body through our kidneys. And you need water to regulate our body temperature, because how do you sweat when you're overheated? You need water. If you don't have enough water, you're not going to sweat, and you're probably going to have a bad outcome. And we need water as a lubricant for our joints and tissues.
Yeah, and I think so that's one that I never really put 2 and 2 together with the joints and tissues. So that one was new to me. I know that a lot of people have a lot of excuses, like, oh, I don't like water or what have you. So what do you suggest is the amount of water that somebody should? So there's a number that I've heard, and then for me, I just make sure that my urine is like a very pale yellow, and I feel like I'm good. So is that a good guideline, or is there a better guideline you could give us?
There really isn't a firm guideline. Now, if you're motivated to lose weight, it's not a scientific number, but it depends on a number of factors, include, you know, it involves your age, your activity level, and the climate you live in. Now, if you live in Arizona or Florida and it's always hot, you're going to lose a lot of water just through your breathing and sweat. So you need more water. The general rule of thumb is to drink an 8-ounce glass of water, drink 8-ounce glasses of water per day, approximately.
Yeah, and I've been told, and I heard this just recently, and I kind of liked it, your body weight. So if I'm 170, half of your body weight in ounces. If I'm 170, then I would drink half of my body weight in ounces, which my goal, which in the little, you know, bariatric binder that you get, which is like next to not helpful, it tells you 64 ounces. So I'm like, okay, well, that's fine.
And you know, it's funny because I was having some weird effects a year or so ago, and I went to a cardiologist because I was having like heart palpitations and stuff, and he was like, you need to add some sodium. He's like, you drink so much water and like no sodium. And so it was interesting how just everything really affects your body, and having balance in a lot of things is very important.
And after having bariatric surgery, for me, I got really tired of plain water. I'll drink it, but I got tired of it. So I had to start incorporating different things. And so Dusty was kind enough to whip up some Crystal Light for us, but I carry Mio drops with me. I brew decaf green tea at home, and I'll keep that. So I start with one of those. I drink one of, this with some whatever flavor I choose, but I refuse to allow the fact that I just don't want plain water to be the reason why I don't get it. So I find a way to get it, and that might be with decaffeinated tea. It might be with, some drops in my water, or Crystal Light, or whatever the case is, Gatorade Zero.
And I'm the like queen of plain water. I just like plain water. I do also like the cucumber lemon water that they have at my bougie gym. So there's that. But I think the next thing that we were going to talk about is activity, and how important activity, and Bruce, when you're talking about someone who's 300 pounds like we were really active, but not a lot of people can say that. What do you suggest for them to just get started with activity?
Well, the first mistake is to tell someone who needs to lose weight that they need to sign up for a gym membership. There's low self-esteem to begin with, and there's embarrassment. So it's absurd to suggest that they go to a gym right away. So I start with some very basic guidelines. Brisk walking, 20 minutes a day for the first week, and increase 10 minutes over the next month. Get your heart rate up, increase endorphin release. Endorphins are good for encouraging. It's a positive element in how our brain functions.
And I think that I totally agree. I remember going into the gym with my 300-pound ass, and just really feeling so uncomfortable and so out of place. But again, I was so determined to start a difference. And I see people now, even where you can just feel that they just feel like they have to be at the gym, and you don't. You can do body weight movements. You can simply walk. You can get a stationary bike. Like, I love my stationary bike. So I think if we think about taking, the month of October and knocking out our water goal, well, let's take the month of November and knock out our active walking goal, and just make that a habit. So now, 2 months into this next 3 months, we have 2 habits down.
And I'll tell you what, even though November gets a little colder, so that could be an excuse. It's too cold. But I'll tell you what, me and Isaac, we walk around the house. We look like psychos. I always said, if someone looks in these windows, they're going to be like, what the hell are these two doing? It looks like we're chasing each other. We'd like around the island.
I mean,
down this I know, right? But it's really cold. So I don't know. I mean, we do look absolutely crazy. But guess what? That's more movement than I would have. I don't care that it's snowing outside. That's not going to be my excuse to not get some type of my blood pumping.
And nowadays there's so many like trackers where you can, count your steps and all that fun stuff.
So I think that's really important that you mentioned that you don't have to have a gym membership. And let me tell you, if you would have told me 5 years ago that I would be, becoming a fitness coach, I would have told you were nuts. And so that just shows you how much your life can change by shedding the weight.
Yeah.
And the last thing,
what are you doing for December?
Well, for December, because everybody says how they don't have time and they're tired in December, we're going to talk about sleep. So, Bruce, if you could just talk to us about, why sleep is so important, that would be awesome.
Sleep is very important. It benefits us both physiologically and mentally. If you're not getting enough sleep, you're generally going to feel fatigued. You can have difficulty concentrating. You can be irritable. You can have mood swings. There's also the increased risk of accidents at the workplace. You might also have impaired judgment, and also it increases your risk of chronic disease. The benefits of sleep is huge. It improves your cognitive function. You're able to think clearer. It boosts your mood. It regulates your emotions, and it reduces stress levels. There's many, many benefits of adequate sleep.
Yeah, the brain fog for me, because we're going through now with my stepdaughter not wanting to sleep at night. So when I have those, it's almost like a newborn. When I have those 3 hours of sleep nights, the next day, I constantly find myself in the pantry, just like a zombie. And I'm like, what are you doing in here? I have to close the door and walk away because I'm not at a 10. My focus is not at a 10. And I just find myself like wandering around doing things that I don't need to be doing. So yeah.
And I've always struggled with sleep. I still struggle with sleep. I prided myself as a young, chef that I only got 5 hours of sleep last night. Well, that's not pride for anybody. Nobody should be doing that. So I know for me, putting my phone away, I do take a melatonin. I have a hot tea before I go to bed.
Yeah, no screen time.
No screen time.
I think like 90 minutes is what we were told, because Chelsea's trying to get her to not.
But Bruce, when you have patients come in, whether they're obese or not, who have issues with sleep, what are kind of some of the first steps you teach them to do to help out?
Well, you have to go to bed and wake up at the same time each day. You have to set up a schedule and have a routine. You want to create a relaxing bedtime routine. Get off your phone. Do not look at the TV. Any kind of bright screens will affect initiation of sleep. You want to make sure your bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool. Of course, avoid caffeine and alcohol before bed. And you have to get regular exercise. Avoiding exercise too close to bedtime as well, because you want to be very relaxed.
Yeah, and I also heard recently somebody said one of their things is that they like to make sure that they go to sleep in the same day that they wake up in, meaning not going to bed after midnight. So he's like, I want to make sure that I go to sleep the same day that I wake up in. I was like, oh, that's pretty smart.
I'm a pretty solid 9:30 girl.
You don't have to worry about that. And then meanwhile, last night it's like 2 a.m. and I'm like, what am I gonna do? Oh yeah, why am I still awake?
But my problem is that I wake up every couple of hours. Like I'm just not a solid sleeper. But you know what? I've been getting a good 7 to 8 hours of in bedtime. And I feel like I feel a lot better when I do that. And I also adjust my activity. So if I didn't sleep well last night, I might do yoga instead of hitting it hard with lifting weights and stuff like that. And I think it's really important to listen to your body. Like we've talked about for months and months and months now. It's like, listen to your body. For me, it's funny how you said no alcohol, but let me tell you, after 2 glasses of wine, I'm good to go. I'm a sleepy girl.
Yeah.
Now I'll wake up feeling gross and dehydrated and all that stuff, but that's why I don't drink anymore, is because I don't make good decisions with food and other things when I drink. So but anyway, so those are the 3 things that we really kind of wanted to focus on. Making sure that for the rest of the year you find a way to make a habit of drinking water and getting sleep and adding in some activity. And then that way you're not waiting until January.
And just one at a time.
Yeah.
Just everything that we preach is just take a small chip away. One day what's tomorrow? What are you starting with tomorrow? Right.
And I think, Bruce, so maybe you can talk about, so let's just say somebody who is kind of dehydrated, doesn't sleep, and doesn't get a lot of activity. What kind of difference can they make in 3 months?
They can make a big difference. First of all, if you get enough sleep and hydrate and exercise, you reduce your risk of chronic diseases.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that just because the scale isn't necessarily moving, that you can still build really good foundational habits. But it's about being consistent and working through kind of that. So when you have people who come in and they're like, doctor, I'm doing everything you said, but nothing's working. What do you kind of suggest to them?
Again, it's important to sit down with everyone and really understand what issues they're having. For instance, a lot of people do not like to drink water in the later part of the day because they have interrupted sleep in the middle of the night. They may get up every 2 to 3 hours to have to go to the bathroom. So you really have to just nail down what the issues are.
And I think what I talk about with my employees when we're in business, it's kind of like facts over feelings. So, hey, I know you feel that you're not making any progress, but what are the facts here? You know, are you actually, you know, drinking the amount of water? Are you actually putting your phone down before you go to bed? And really encouraging people to be honest with themselves instead of making them feel badly about themselves. And I think that's really important. Stephanie and I's you know, we feel like we are both morbidly obese and we feel like we can help people with the mindset part. And I know from me getting to know you more and from her now, we're really appreciated. We really appreciate physicians like you who take the time to understand. And we really wish that we could help more people find people like you. Is there any sort of, I don't even know. Is there any sort of like specialty other than like a bariatric doctors? Any other specialty that kind of helps with weight loss? Like I hear about like weight loss clinics and this sort of thing, and I get very confused about that. So could you kind of maybe clear that up a little bit?
Well, I think you have to decipher through all the media
Mhm.
and the advertising. Now, you really have to find someone who's willing to take the time to sit down and counsel. Counseling is the most important element to weight loss.
Yeah.
Empowering someone, making them feel as if they could do it. I mean, it's just like alcoholism. It's you know, vicious cycle of failure and back to reward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I went to when I moved up here, and I had to find a new doctor for my 2-year checkup, and I had gained weight, and I was so scared to go back in, and I had to go find a new doctor, and I went to a weight loss place that I found in my insurance card, whatever. And I was so scared, but he was very matter of fact with me, because I was like, they're just going to tell me I need to eat what I've heard my whole life. You got to eat better. You need to exercise. You need to, but he wasn't. He was like, this is okay. You're here and you're recognizing that you had some regain, and we're just going to figure out what the best thing is for you to do. And it was like such a sigh of relief. Like Justy said, when there's a doctor that understands, it's just like, thank you, because you're so tense. You go in there and you're just like, oh God, I'm gonna be like, I really thought I was in trouble. Like, oh,
Right.
hello, you're 46 years old, you're not in trouble. Like you gained some weight, it's okay. But he was just very matter of fact, like, well, we could do a revision. And I was like, no, I gained 40 pounds, bro. I don't need a revision. He's like, or we could try some weight loss medication. So he just kind of talked me through it and gave me suggestions. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. And he said, you don't have to decide right now. Go home and think about it. And I did. So I just, there's not enough to be said about doctors that can understand what an obese person is going through, because our whole life we're just shamed and like put into this box of you're lazy,
Right.
you eat too much. And
Right.
it's like, I've never been lazy. My entire life. I've never been lazy.
Yeah, and I think so. So Bruce, if you were to say, what the future of kind of weight loss is and kind of helping, conquer this chronic obesity disease that it is, what do you see in the future?
I'm very optimistic for the future. The advent of these new therapeutics for medical supervised weight loss is very promising. There are many molecules of drugs that are in the pipeline that are being developed that are actually going to improve upon what we have now as options.
I'm really excited too, because as you know, Steph and I both took Monjaro. I took it for a very short time. She took it for a little bit longer, but man, did it change my brain.
Yeah.
It changed my brain.
Yeah.
And if I could get it and use it and it was approved for me, I would probably do it, to be honest with you, because since I've been off of it, it's just harder. And I'm a person who does hard things, right? And it's hard enough. And I just think it's game changing because, like I said, not everybody's strong like me. So I can't imagine somebody who has a little bit of a weaker personality, how they manage losing a massive amount of weight. And, it's, to me, I just feel so much compassion for people because I know how it feels to pretend like you are okay and pretend like you're happy and pretend all these things, but you're not. And all of that came from my obesity. Mm-hmm. And it all changed when I started to conquer that, disease that I have. And so I'm excited too. And I just wish there was something I could like wave a magic wand and these things would be for us. But
I think we're headed in the right direction now.
I think so too.
And I'm really well connected with quite a few doctors and like therapists and whatnot in the bariatric world on Instagram. And it couldn't ask for a better community. And because a lot of them follow us, I just couldn't ask for a better community. Like next weekend, we're just like going to be with community. And it's your people, but it's my people, but it's your people.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, we all get each other. We all get where we came from. And I just see more and more, whether it be doctors or whatever the case is, people that embrace it and understand it. There's still ignorant people out there. There's still people that don't understand. There's still people that think that I'm lazy and I took the easy way out, and they can kick rocks.
Right. So, Bruce, I really wanted to thank you again. I think as we continue, moving along in this journey, people like you, doctors like you, who understand, who are willing to take time out of your busy day to talk with two ladies on my couch, is very, we appreciate that. So, we are going to, what are we going to talk about next? Oh, we're going to talk about, I don't know. I don't know what we're going to talk about next.
Out of orders.
Yeah, I don't know what we're going to talk about next, but Bruce, if there's anything, any final words you want to say, now is the time.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the podcast. It was an honor and pleasure to answer some questions that might not have been clear in the past, and it's important for patients to reach out to physicians who care about the whole person, not just.
Yeah, you're not married to that one physician. If you go to somebody and you don't like their answer, go to another one. There's fish in the sea.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So thank you again. And I'll be seeing you soon at pickleball.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.